Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be doing a Would I Buy It Again Natasha Denona edition. So this video was largely inspired by Samantha March's series she currently has going on her channel called Will I Buy It Again? She's done palettes, she's done foundations. I decided to put my own little spin on it and talk about my Natasha Denona midi palettes. I have two larger palettes as well. I'm not counting my minis in here because I feel like we'd be here all day if I did do that. But I'm going to go through my Natasha Denona midi palettes and my two larger ones as well, and let you know if going into all of the information I have now about these palettes, knowing everything I know, would I buy them again? So let's hop into it. The very first one I want to mention is the Metropolis palette. So I did mention I have two larger ones in addition to the midis. And this palette, first of all, I absolutely loved when she was doing this packaging. I don't know why she stopped. I personally really loved this packaging. And the Metropolis palette is one of her very best, in my opinion. This one doesn't have a lot of her newer formulas, like her sparkling foiled, her sparkling wet effect, those types of formulas, but this is still an incredible palette. The formula in here is still amazing. There's a lot of her cream to powder formulas in here as well. So this palette has 28 shades and I feel like it's just so beautiful. It's a wonderful fall color story with a little bit of holiday. You get some reds, you get these blues, which I think are actually really beautiful. I think she did such an incredible job with this one. This is one of her around $128 palettes, which is bananas for an eyeshadow palette. I think we can all agree on that. But this has 28 shades, which is just not something she does anymore. I mean, Pat McGrath has her $128 palettes and you get 10 shades. 28 in here, and it's absolutely worth it. This palette, full transparency, was actually gifted to me from a friend, but I would purchase this again. This is a very, very good palette. This is one of her best. Again, I love this packaging. I love this format. I love everything about this. I would purchase this again, and if she released more palettes in this format, I absolutely would splurge and pick them up. Okay, going into the only other full-size palette of Natasha's, this is the Biba palette. So I ended up finding this one last year on Sephora. It was on half price and I splurged and picked it up. Who does not love an all-neutral palette? You know I do. I love this palette. The color story is perfect. We get the cool tones, we get the warm tones, we get some true neutrals. I love it. It's just the perfect palette. It is a little lighter on shimmer for my preferences. I wish there was a little bit more, but I do think it's so beautiful. The formula is amazing. It's stunning. It is my perfect color story. Asking myself whether I would buy it again. So now that I have the I Need a Nude palette from Natasha Denona, I don't feel like this one is as prominent or relevant because I use that one so much. That being said, this does provide for a lot more depth than that one, and it really does have its place. However, I don't know that I would spend $128 on 15 very neutral eyeshadows. I don't know that I would. If she re-released this palette in a midi size, which would then make the price point a little more accessible, I would purchase it again. As much as I love this, I would not purchase it again at its current price point. But if it was relaunched within the midi size range, which seems to be all she releases these days aside from her minis, I would repurchase it. Okay, next I have the Bronze palette. So I think this is one that came out in 2020. This is a beautiful palette. Again, very warm, very, very bronze. She does also have a mini bronze. I love this one. I think the shades are beautiful. The shimmers are gorgeous. The thing is that it's kind of repetitive. There really isn't much range in here at all. I find that almost all of the looks come out very similar. The formula is amazing, as is most of these palettes, honestly. A lot of these formulas are incredible, but so many of these end up looking very, very similar that I don't know if it's worth it. I'm thinking I would not repurchase this one, especially because she does have the mini bronze, and I think the look you get with that one ends up being the same as what you get with this one. With this one, you do get two deeper shades, which is different than that, but at the same time, I don't think I would repurchase this, knowing what I know now. Okay, next we have the Love palette. And this is one I genuinely don't know if I repurchase. This is not what I picked up when it first came out, but it is super beautiful, especially around this time of year as we're approaching Valentine's Day and pinks and purples are very, very popular. I want to reach for more. I love that there's a pop of silver in here. I love that there's all these beautiful shimmers. I think this is a gorgeous, gorgeous palette. I think when I purchased this though, I really thought I would get a lot more use out of it than I do. And as pretty as it is, and pink is most certainly my favorite color, I don't know. I really don't use these reds because I just don't like red eyeshadow on myself at all. There's definitely a beautiful range in here. I don't think I would purchase it again just based on how much I know I don't really use it. It is stunning, but I think it's one of those palettes that maybe I should have continued to admire from afar. Again, I think it's super, super beautiful. I just don't reach for it the way that I thought I would. So I don't think I would purchase this one again. Keep in mind, I'm not decluttering these. I am keeping these probably forever and I will continue to use them. This is all very hypothetical. Next, we have the Glam Palette. So this was, I feel like this took us all by storm. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous cool tone palette. This one has everything you need to create gorgeous cool toned looks. If you love cool tones, this is the palette for you. This is 100% worth the splurge. I have gotten a lot of use out of this. There are some silvers in here and I think it's just the right amount. I think this is such a beautiful palette. I always love the looks that come out of this one. I think I would purchase this one again. This one really is a stunning, stunning palette. So I think I would purchase this again. This is just such a staple in my collection. So this one is a yes. Next we have the Xenon Palette. So this one people were very split on. This palette is definitely a more unique color story in her range. I find on one side you get these warm tones, up here you get these more cooler tones. I find it hard to switch between the different sides at the same time. There are definitely some people who have done it and who make it look amazing. I'm just not one of them. I really did quite like this palette. I thought the formulas were great. I had fun working with it. I enjoyed working with it. But honestly, I really don't reach for it very much. I don't really know why I don't reach for it. I just really don't. So I don't think I would purchase this again knowing what I know. I still think some of these shades are absolutely beautiful. I don't think there's a single thing wrong with the formulas in here. It's just, we've got a red in here. I don't like red eyeshadow. We've got some blues. I don't really like blue. I do love green, and I love these peachy browns. I really do. It's just, it's beautiful. It's just not my favorite. Okay, next we have one that is top tier. This is the Retro Palette. This palette had me in an absolute chokehold when I first picked it up. And this one actually has so much use out of it still. I love this palette. Every time I create a look with this palette, I feel so pretty and put together. I love mauve tones on myself. I love reaching for this palette. The shimmers in here are absolutely stunning. She did such an amazing job with this one. This is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. It's one of my favorite color stories in my collection. I just think it's absolutely stunning. We do have some of these very deep tones that I probably don't wear as much, but the ones in here that I do wear a ton, I wear a ton. So I would absolutely 1000% purchase this again. I love this palette. And it's weird because I don't feel like I hear anybody talk about this one anymore. Like, I hear about the Glam Palette all the time. I hear about the Bronze Palette quite frequently, the Biba. I don't hear anybody talking about this one and I don't know why. It's one of the best. Next is the Pastel Palette. So this one, the outer packaging is absolutely stunning. And this one is really unique to my collection because I don't have a lot of pastels. This one is definitely a very specific time of year for me. I definitely prefer this in the spring, around Easter. That's when I'm wearing this. I don't really wear it any other time. I think this is beautiful. I think these shades are really, really pretty. It does not get enough use from me though. I mean, I think the pinks are gorgeous. I think the mint green's gorgeous. I love these shades. And I think as far as pastels go, I think Natasha's probably the only one who could get me to enjoy a pastel eyeshadow palette. Would I purchase it again though? I want to say yes because it adds to my collection, but in all honesty, I don't use these tones a lot, but I feel like it really fills a void in my collection. Because if I wanted a pastel, this is what I would go for. I would purchase this again. I would. I absolutely went into that thinking I was going to say I wouldn't, but you know what? I would purchase this one again. Next we have the I Need a Nude palette, and 1000% yes, I would purchase this one. I recently said in my year-end palette ranking that if I for some reason got rid of every single palette in my collection and I could only keep one, it would be this one, and this is all I would need, and I stand by that. This palette is incredible. You don't get a ton of depth. You really only get one deeper shade, but in all honesty, I don't go that deep to begin with. I love this palette with my whole heart. This is perfect. It is perfect for every single day. You can go glam with it, but it's just perfect. And I never create a look that is not 100% comfortable for me to wear. I absolutely love this palette. It's the best she's ever done, in my opinion. Next is another one that came out in 2023, and this is the Xenon Palette. So this one is so interesting to me because it is just a lot of gray and black and white. This shade here and this one were marketed as pink shades. Snowball I really do think is a bit of a pink. Neve is most certainly not a pink in any sense of the word. And this is one that really, really made me work for it when it came to creating different looks. I really had to push my creativity to create something new because I found that a lot of the looks ended up coming out very, very similar. So when I really made myself work to create something new and different and unique, I did, and I had fun with it, and I was able to create something different. But for the most part, a lot of the looks end up coming out the same, and quite honestly, I don't create a lot of smoky looks. So I don't think I would purchase this one again. I've known that for a while. This is just not a color story I reach for very often, and given that a lot of the looks come out very, very similarly, I don't think I would purchase it again. Next is the Yucca Palette, and this one I really do love. I think this is also one that ends up being a little bit repetitive sometimes. I think that a lot of the looks do end up looking similar. That being said, I love green eyeshadow, and I think these are some of the best, most fun greens I have ever used. So I would purchase this one again. It's not the prettiest color story. I really super don't like this shade. I don't like this shade either. But the rest of the shades and the way they come together, the way they work together, this is the most fun I have when using green eyeshadow. So I would use this, and her sparkling foiled formula is just second to none. I mean, if you look at that shine, it's just stunning. So I think I would repurchase this one as well. We have two more palettes to talk about. We have the My Dream palette, which is interesting to me because I don't use this one nearly as much as I thought I would. I feel like this palette, though beautiful, there are certainly some shades in here that I think are absolutely gorgeous. I feel like it's a little bit more on the grungy side. And as beautiful as this palette is, as stunning as it is, I just don't get as much use out of it as I expected. I think because of that grunginess. So I don't think I would purchase this again. I think this is gorgeous and I'm thrilled to have it. It's just, I don't get as much use out of it as I thought I would. So I don't think I would purchase this one again. And lastly, I have the Retro Glam Palette. When she released the Retro palette, people loved the palette, but people were upset because they wanted more greens. And this was the response, and I think this is absolutely stunning. So I absolutely love this palette. I really do enjoy playing with this one. I love the looks that come out of it. The formulas in here are absolutely stunning. I would not repurchase it though. And the reason why is because Alter Ego actually has a dupe for this one, and it's really good. This is the Sakura palette from Alter Ego. You can see it's definitely a dupe color story. Sometimes the Alter Ego tones are a little bit different, but on the eyes you really don't notice. And also they've laid it out in a bit more of a cohesive manner. So for that reason, I don't think I would repurchase Retro Glam because I do have this, and if I didn't have either of them, I would probably just grab the one from Alter Ego to save a ton. So as much as I love this, I don't think I would repurchase it, but I do love it. So basically, the theme here is I pick up all of Natasha Denona's palettes to review. This is a brand that I very consistently cover here on my channel. I love her brand. I love her palettes. I love her formulas. I just sometimes, her color stories don't call to me as much as some of the others. There is definitely a certain type of color story that I go for more than any other. And sometimes a palette will fill a certain gap in my collection that I wanted to, like the Pastel, the Yucka Palette. Those fill certain gaps in my collection, whereas palettes like the I Need a Nude are just an amazing staple. So that's how I made my decision on these. This was very hard because I love my Natasha Denona palettes dearly. Some of these answers surprised me, but this was really fun to do. So let me know if you would like me to do this with other palettes, with other parts of my collection. Let me know. I love hearing from you guys so much. I love to hear what you'd like to see from me as well. So please do leave those comments down below. Thank you so very much for watching, and if you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload at least 3 new videos every single week. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!